We talk a lot about relationships, how to find them, how to fix them, how to keep them, but we rarely ask the real question. How do we manage relationships? Not control them, not manipulate them, manage them. Like something precious, something worth protecting, something that needs attention, effort, and care. Most people enter relationships with a checklist. We expect the other person to behave a certain way to meet our needs without ever clearly explaining them. And when they don't, we feel hurt, rejected, even angry. But here's the truth. Expectations without communication will always lead to disappointment. Instead of starting with, what can I get? Ask, what are they feeling? Start with empathy. Get curious. Listen before you speak. If you want a relationship to thrive, seek first to understand, not to be understood. You don't build a strong relationship in a day. You build it in the small, repeated actions over time. It's not the big dramatic gestures that build trust. It's the showing up. The text just to say hi. The I've got your back moments when things go wrong. Trust isn't built through intensity. People don't stay in relationships because you wowed them once. They stay because they feel safe. And they feel safe when you are reliable. When we hear leader, we think of someone in charge. But leadership in relationships isn't about power. It's about responsibility. Leadership means going first in vulnerability, saying I'm sorry first, asking how are you really doing first. It means listening more than you speak. It means owning your mistakes even when it's uncomfortable. In every healthy relationship, someone leads not by dominating but by serving. Be that person. Take the high road. Set the tone. Too many people run from conflict like it's a fire. But the problem isn't the disagreement. The problem is how we handle it. A disagreement, when approached with respect, is a doorway to deeper connection. Think about it. If two people never disagree, chances are one of them is hiding, or both are pretending. Disagreement means honesty. It means passion. It means both people care. Don't run from it. Step into it with calm, with grace, with a willingness to listen. It's not about winning the argument. It's about winning the relationship. Roles change. You may go from lovers to co-parents, from best friends to business partners. Values. That's where the real strength lies. When you build your connection on shared values like honesty, kindness, growth, you create something that lasts. Values guide how you show up, how you treat each other, how you repair when things break. Ask yourself, what do we stand for together? Then live it every day. Too many people treat relationships like a finish line. I got the job, I got the girl, I got the friend. And then they stop trying. But relationships are not trophies, they are gardens. If you stop watering them, they wilt. They die. You don't get to keep someone just because they chose you once. You have to keep showing up. Keep choosing them. Every day ask yourself, how can I earn this today? Not in grand gestures, but in presence, in listening, in love. So how do you manage relationships? You lead with empathy. You show up with consistency. You take responsibility. You embrace discomfort. You align your values. And you never stop choosing the people who matter. Because relationships, real, meaningful ones, are not managed by control. They are managed by commitment. And in a world full of noise, confusion, and distraction, there is nothing more powerful, more rare, or more beautiful than a relationship that is intentionally managed, beautifully led, and deeply nurtured. Most of the pain we experience in relationships comes not from what someone did, but from what we expected them to do and didn't say out loud. We walk into relationships carrying silent expectations, unspoken rules, assumptions, needs, and we expect the other person to just know. And when they don't, we take it personally, we feel let down, unloved, even betrayed. But the truth is, they didn't break your heart. They just didn't follow a script they were never given. And this is where empathy becomes the most powerful tool we have. Empathy means choosing to understand someone else's experience before judging it. It means putting yourself in their position, seeing the world from where they stand, not from where you wish they'd be. It's stepping into their story without trying to rewrite it. And when we begin relationships from that place, not from a list of demands, but from a place of deep understanding. We build something real. People are not mind readers. Even the ones who love you the most can't always guess what you need. And they shouldn't have to. Love doesn't mean telepathy. It means communication. It means saying, this matters to me, and also asking, what matters to you? It means creating space for honesty without fear, space for needs to be expressed, and for boundaries to be respected. Starting with empathy isn't just about understanding others. It's about choosing humility. It's admitting that maybe we don't have all the answers. Maybe our way isn't the only way. Maybe we've been looking at the relationship through our own lens for so long that we forgot the other person has a lens too. When you approach someone with empathy, you say, I care more about who you are than who I want you to be. That's the beginning of real connection. Expectations, when not clearly communicated and mutually agreed upon, become silent killers in relationships. They turn into quiet resentment. You begin to keep score. You start thinking, I would have done this for them. Why didn't they do it for me? And now you're not building a relationship, you're building a scoreboard. That's not love, that's transaction. Empathy does the opposite. It builds bridges. It helps you see the tired in their eyes before you criticize them for not texting back. It helps you notice the pressure they're under before you accuse them of being distant. It helps you stay present during conflict instead of retreating into your own narrative of being right. Empathy reminds you that the relationship is not about winning, it's about understanding. It's not about proving a point, it's about preserving the connection. Think about how different our relationships would look if we paused before reacting and asked, what might they be feeling right now? Not to excuse bad behavior, but to humanize the person behind the behavior. It doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect, it means you lead with understanding and then decide where your boundaries are from a place of clarity, not anger. Empathy is not weakness. It is the most courageous thing you can offer someone. It says, I choose to understand you even if I disagree with you. And when both people do that for each other, what you create isn't just a relationship, it's a safe haven. So before you ask, why aren't they giving me what I need? Try asking, have I truly seen what they need? Before you demand more, try listening deeper. Before you assume, try understanding. Because relationships built on expectations will break under pressure. But relationships built on empathy will bend, adapt, and grow stronger every time. Trust isn't built in a single moment. It's not something you earn once and keep forever without effort. It's something you earn over and over again through your actions, your words, your presence. Consistency is what makes people feel safe in a relationship. Not grand gestures, not big promises, but the simple act of showing up again and again in the same reliable, steady way. Because when someone knows what to expect from you, they start to relax around you. They stop guarding themselves. They start to believe that you mean what you say. Most people don't realize how powerful consistency really is. We think we have to impress people to win them over. But people don't want to be impressed. They want to be understood. They want to feel secure. And consistency gives them that security. When you're consistent, you're telling the other person, you can count on me. I'm not just here on the good days. I'm here when it's hard. I'm here when it's boring. I'm here when you're not perfect and when I'm not either. Think about the people you trust most. It's probably not because they did one amazing thing. It's because they've been dependable. They've shown up for you repeatedly in small but meaningful ways. They check in. They keep their word. They don't disappear when things get difficult. Their mood doesn't change based on what you can give them. Their love isn't conditional. They've shown you over time that they're not going anywhere. And that kind of presence creates a safety most people have never really experienced. A relationship where you don't have to tiptoe around someone's mood. A friendship where you don't have to wonder if you said the wrong thing. A partnership where you don't constantly question if they'll still be there tomorrow. That safety is the soil where real connection grows. But it's also the part that takes the most discipline. Because consistency isn't exciting, it's not glamorous, it's not always noticed right away. It's the text in the middle of a busy day, the follow-through on a promise you made, the showing up to hard conversations instead of shutting down. It's choosing to stay emotionally available even when you're tired. Choosing to stay kind even when you're frustrated. Choosing to keep being present even when the spark fades and real life sets in. That's the work. And it's not easy. but it's what builds something that lasts. Inconsistent people, even if they have good intentions, create anxiety in relationships. You never know which version of them you're going to get. One day they're warm, the next they're distant. One day they're full of affection, the next they shut you out. And it doesn't matter how much love is there. If that love is unstable, the relationship becomes unsafe. You end up walking on eggshells, constantly questioning yourself, constantly trying to earn back something that shouldn't need to be earned every single day. Consistency, on the other hand, is a form of love. It's love made visible. It says, I'm here. I'm choosing you. Not just today, but again tomorrow and the day after that. And that choice, made repeatedly, is what builds trust, intimacy, and deep emotional safety. So if you want your relationships to grow, don't just aim to impress. Aim to be consistent. Be someone who means what they say. Be someone who shows up, not just when it's convenient, but when it's inconvenient. That's where the real connection lives. That's how love becomes something you can trust. And that's how people start to feel safe, not just with you, but within themselves. In every relationship, someone has to lead, but not in the way we usually think. Leadership in a relationship doesn't mean control, and it doesn't mean power. It's not about making the decisions or having the final say. Being the leader in a relationship means taking responsibility for your actions, your communication, your emotional presence. It means being the one who sets the tone. The one who goes first when it's uncomfortable. The one who says, I care enough about this relationship to lead with love, not ego. Most people think leadership starts when you have influence over someone else. But in relationships, it starts with influence over yourself. Can you manage your emotions even when you're hurt? Can you stay calm in an argument when everything in you wants to fight back? Can you choose to listen even when you feel misunderstood? That's leadership. That's strength. Because anyone can react, anyone can blame, but it takes real courage to respond with intention. Being the leader means you go first in vulnerability. You say, I'm sorry first. You say, I love you first. You say, let's talk about this even when you'd rather avoid it. You take initiative not because you always feel like it, but because you know it's what the relationship needs. That kind of leadership creates emotional safety. It shows the other person that they don't have to be perfect, that they don't have to guess what you're thinking, that someone in this dynamic is willing to be strong in the moments that matter most. Leadership is not about always being right. It's about being real. It's about being grounded enough in yourself that you can hold space for someone else without losing your center. When you lead in a relationship, you don't try to fix the other person. You show up fully and allow your presence to be the example. You speak with honesty, not cruelty. You express your needs without demanding. You make room for their perspective, even when it challenges your own. That's the kind of leadership that deepens love. It also means doing the uncomfortable things. Having the hard conversations, naming the tension, calling out what's not working, not because you want to fight, but because you want to heal. Leaders don't let silence poison the connection. They confront things with compassion. They lead with the question, how do we grow from this? Instead of, how do I win this? That mindset changes everything. A true leader in a relationship doesn't force anyone to follow. They inspire trust through their integrity. They earn influence by showing up consistently. And the beautiful part is when one person starts leading like that, it often invites the other person to rise to the same level. Love becomes a partnership, not a power struggle. Respect becomes mutual, not conditional. Leadership in love means choosing growth over comfort. It means choosing connection over pride. And sometimes it means choosing to stay when things get hard, not because it's easier, but because you see the potential and you're willing to fight for it. Not with anger, but with grace. So if your relationship feels stuck or distant or off balance, ask yourself, am I leading with intention or reacting with emotion? Be the one who sets the tone. Be the one who listens when it's hard. Be the one who apologizes without keeping score. Lead not to control, but to connect. Because in relationships, leadership isn't about being in charge. It's about being present. And that kind of pressure changes everything. Most people fear conflict in relationships. The moment tension arises, they either shut down, lash out, or walk away. But disagreement isn't the enemy of connection. Disconnection is. And often it's the disagreements that reveal the most important opportunities for growth, understanding, and deeper intimacy. The problem isn't that we argue. The problem is we've been taught to see arguments as a sign that something is broken, rather than as a sign that something matters. And when two people care deeply, they're bound to see the world differently at times. They have different experiences, beliefs, triggers, and communication styles. That's natural. The goal isn't to avoid all disagreement. It's to learn how to handle it in a way that strengthens the relationship instead of weakening it. If you can sit in the discomfort of disagreement, if you can stay open even when it's hard, then you create the space for real transformation. Disagreement is a signal, it's feedback, it's telling you, here's a place where your perspectives don't align. That's not a threat, it's an invitation. An invitation to understand the other person on a deeper level. An invitation to clarify your own values and boundaries. An invitation to work together, not against each other. But that only happens if both people are willing to lean in with curiosity rather than defense. Most arguments spiral out of control because people stop listening. Instead of hearing what the other person is trying to express, they're preparing their next point, trying to win or trying to protect their ego. But the purpose of a disagreement isn't to win, it's to understand. If all you want is to be right, you'll win the argument and lose the relationship. But if you lead with the intention to understand and repair, the relationship comes out stronger on the other side. That starts with emotional regulation. You have to be able to pause and notice when you're reacting from fear, insecurity, or past wounds. You have to recognize when you're escalating instead of connecting. That awareness gives you the power to shift. To say, I'm feeling triggered right now, but I'm still here. To say, help me understand what you mean, instead of, you always do this. That one decision to stay present, to stay open, can completely change the direction of the conversation. Disagreements also reveal your ability to hold space for difference. Can you love someone even when they don't agree with you? Can you still speak kindly even when you feel disappointed? Can you respect someone's perspective without needing them to adopt yours? These moments test your capacity for mature, grounded love. And every time you rise to meet that challenge, your relationship becomes more resilient. There's also the opportunity to get to know yourself better. Conflict reveals your blind spots, your fears, your emotional patterns. It shows you what you're holding on to, where you're still hurt, what stories you're telling yourself. If you're brave enough to reflect instead of deflect, you come out of disagreement with more self-awareness. And that's a gift to every relationship you'll ever have. The healthiest relationships aren't the ones without conflict. They're the ones where both people feel safe enough to speak their truth and strong enough to hear the others. They don't avoid the hard conversations. They walk into them together with empathy, honesty, and a shared commitment to growth. So the next time tension arises, take a breath. Don't run, don't shut down, don't assume the worst. Instead, lean in, ask questions, stay calm. Remember that disagreement doesn't mean you're breaking. It means you're building. You're learning, you're getting real. And that's what strong, lasting relationships are made of. Not constant agreement, but courageous connection. When we enter into a relationship, it's easy to default to roles. We look at each other as boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife, partner, provider, supporter, caretaker. These roles come with built-in expectations, some spoken, many unspoken. We start to define ourselves in our relationship based on what we think we're supposed to be doing. But the truth is, roles can shift. Life changes. Circumstances evolve. What truly holds a relationship together isn't the role you play, it's the values you share. Those are external. They're influenced by culture, family, tradition, and often pressure. One day you might be the breadwinner, the next you might be the caregiver. At one stage you might be the one giving more support, and another you might be the one who needs it. But if the relationship is only defined by those roles, then when the role changes, the connection weakens. You start to wonder, what am I to this person now? That's what defining the relationship by values, not roles. is so important because values are internal. They don't change when the circumstances do. Values are the foundation. They're the invisible threads that hold you together when life gets messy. Things like honesty, loyalty, growth, compassion, responsibility, and respect. When both people are aligned in values, they know how to show up for each other, even when they don't know exactly what to do. They know that even when they disagree on the details, they're still moving in the same direction. They're anchored in something deeper than tasks or titles. If you define your relationship by roles, then you start keeping score. You say things like, I'm doing more, I'm giving more, why am I the only one trying? But if you define your relationship by values, then the question becomes, am I showing up in a way that reflects what we both believe in? You stop measuring output and start measuring integrity. Are we being honest? Are we treating each other with kindness? Are we honoring our commitment to growth even when it's hard? These questions build connection far more than comparing duties ever will. Relationships thrive when values are clearly communicated and consistently lived out. That means having conversations about what really matters to each of you, not just what you want in the relationship, but who you want to be in the relationship. What do you both stand for? What are the non-negotiables? What are the things you're willing to fight for and grow toward? When you align on those things, you create a shared vision. And that vision becomes your compass. This alignment becomes especially important when life throws curveballs. When someone loses a job, gets sick, changes careers, or goes through personal transformation, the roles may have to shift. But if the relationship is grounded in values, you don't lose your connection, you adapt. You support each other through the change because the why of the relationship is still intact. Values also help you set healthy boundaries. If you both value respect, then there's no room for manipulation or cruelty, no matter how stressed or emotional you get. If you both value growth, then challenges become opportunities to evolve, not excuses to give up. If you value trust, then transparency and communication become non-negotiables. These values create a framework that protects the relationship even when emotions run high. Ultimately, roles can be helpful, but they should never define the relationship. Values are what give it meaning, direction, and endurance. When you live by values, you stop performing and start connecting. You stop trying to do love right and start trying to be love more consistently. That's where the real strength is. That's what makes a relationship last. Not what you do for each other, but what you believe in together. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships is thinking the work is done once they've found someone. They believe the effort ends after the first few dates, after the I love you, after the commitment, the move-in, or even the wedding. But real love doesn't live in the big moments. It lives in the everyday choices. A healthy relationship isn't something you have, it's something you earn over and over again. And the moment you stop earning it is the moment it starts to fade. You don't earn love with flowers on Valentine's Day or with occasional grand gestures. You earn it with how you show up every single day, with the way you listen when they're speaking, with the way you speak about them when they're not in the room, with how you respond when they're vulnerable, when they're struggling, when they're not at their best. Relationships grow strongest when two people choose to keep showing up for each other, not out of obligation, but out of respect, care, and commitment. Think of love like a garden. You can't just plant it and walk away. You need sunlight, water, attention. Some days you'll feel inspired to tend to it, other days you won't. But the people who keep showing up, even on the boring or hard days, are the ones who watch that love grow into something deep and lasting. When you stop earning the relationship, it begins to wilt, not because the love is gone, but because the effort is. Earning the relationship means not taking the other person for granted. It means remembering that their presence in your life is a gift, not a given. Just because someone loves you today doesn't mean they'll tolerate neglect, disrespect, or emotional distance forever. People stay where they feel seen, valued, and prioritized. The moment they start feeling invisible is the moment they start drifting away. Sometimes emotionally, sometimes physically. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional, making the small effort to check in, to say, how are you really, to offer a hug when they're overwhelmed, to remember the things they care about, to speak their love language, not just the one that comes naturally to you. These things might seem small, but over time, they are the glue that holds relationships together. And let's be honest, earning the relationship is not always exciting. It's not always romantic. Sometimes it's doing the dishes when you're tired because you know it helps them feel supported. Sometimes it's staying in the conversation when you'd rather walk away. Sometimes it's swallowing your pride and saying, I was wrong. That's the real stuff. That's what builds trust, safety, and love that doesn't disappear when things get tough. But it also means continuing to grow. Keep becoming someone your partner is proud to be with. Keep expanding your capacity for empathy, patience, and understanding. Keep asking, how can I love you better? Because people evolve. And if you're not evolving with them, you'll grow apart. But when two people are committed to earning each other's love, day by day, they create something that adapts, strengthens, and endures. Relationships aren't won, they're nurtured. No title, no ring, no shared home guarantees connection. What does is effort. Daily, intentional, honest effort. So if you want a love that lasts, keep showing up, keep listening, keep trying. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Because the person you're with matters. And because love, real love, is not a destination. It's a choice you make every single day.